Rimuru Lumiel Angel of Void by Rimu_Kai. Prologue. There was nothing. Not darkness, not emptiness, not even the hollow breath of a void. This was the absolute null, the conceptual womb that even void itself dared not touch. A place where time was unborn, where space never stretched, where even existence was a foreign concept. This realm was not dead, it had never lived. No thought, no vibration, no memory. Not even the idea of silence had yet been spoken. It was nothingness, not in the poetic sense, but in the purest, rawest form of absolute non-being. And then, from this infinite veil of inexistence, a light sparked. It was not bound by motion, for motion did not exist. It did not shine in space, for space had no form. It was simply there, radiating a truth beyond truth, a presence that rewrote the nature of presence itself. That light was the first will, the first presence. Not created, not formed, it simply was. This light had no origin and no beginning, yet it was the beginning of all things yet to be. Its radiance did not illuminate, it defined illumination. Its being was not confined, it defined being. This was the first well. The absolute being. Omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. In this light resided all things, past, present, future, even though those concepts did not yet have names. It was the root of the real, the one that bore all stories, all energies, all logic. This light, this divine will, sensed itself, and from that first act of self-reflection, the seed of existence was sown. Yet, in a moment incomprehensible to logic or progression, that blinding, holy light, vanished. It did not fade. It did not fall. It simply withdrew, leaving behind an object, foreign to the timeless silence of the void. A sphere, an egg, drifting in a place that did not drift. Its surface shimmered with hues that defied natural law, pure white, yet laced with glowing veins of silver, blue, and purple, each swirl hiding within a shadow of subtle black. A paradox, a prism forged in divine contradiction. This was no ordinary egg. It was the cosmic cocoon, formed by the compression of the first light's will into an avatar tobe. The first echo of identity. The embryo of godhood. Time did pass, but there was still no time. Yet, the egg stirred. The silent currents of a reality yet unborn began to ripple from its shell. And then, it hatched. No sound, no explosion in the traditional sense. But from within that sealed perfection burst a wave of raw creation. And from it, a being emerged, a dragon, immense and terrible in beauty. His form rippled with scales of iridescent light blue, each one a reflection of a world that did not yet exist. His eyes shimmered deep blue, radiant with the clarity of infinite sight, veiled by the glimmer of gold, the mark of divinity. He opened his mouth, and the act of naming himself gave form to the unheard. Veldonava. He spoke, and sound came into being. He willed, and identity took its first breath. Veldonava, the cosmic dragon god. The first fragment of the true well, a shard of the omniscient will condensed into shape and form. He was avatar, herald, and the first mind. He was existence incarnate, born to act, to create, to speak a cosmos into motion. Yet even as the first divine being, he was alone. Veldonava soared through the blank veil of nothingness, and as his wings moved, they disturbed nothing, for there was still no ether to move. And in that silence, in that endless monotony, a thought began to stir inside him. I am alone. No stars, no sky, no wind, no echo. He was the sole note in a silent orchestra. And with his loneliness came temptation, a longing not driven by desire, but by the divine function of his will, to create. Not for company, not for meaning, but because creation was inevitable. He contemplated the energies within himself. And within the depth of his being, he discovered two primal forces, opposite yet inseparable. The first, stardust, an energy of impossible purity. The essence of everythingness. It carried the potential of worlds yet to be spoken, of light, law, and wonder. It was the energy of order, of life, of divine formation. It did not merely create, it defined that which could be created. Then, there was the second, null, or nihility. It was not evil. It was not destruction in the mortal sense. It was the primordial force of dissolution, of unmaking, of clearing the canvas. Yet, it was not solely destructive. Within nihility also lay the power to create through erasure. By removing limits, it allowed rebirth. It was freedom incarnate, chaos purified into energy. Veldonava was the only being capable of holding both. Creation and destruction, everythingness and nothingness. With a single thought, he reached into himself. He pulled from his inner sea of stardust, shaping the first miracle of architecture. A structure, tall, crystalline, majestic. It floated on a field of conceptual grass that swayed, though no wind existed. A palace, infinite in scale and impossible in design. Each pillar carved from fragments of the cosmic egg that had birthed him, its walls inscribed with unspoken laws. This was the heavenly star palace. Its domes reflected starlight that did not yet shine. Its courtyards were lined with marble that whispered potential. Its throne room, empty yet majestic, waited patiently for a monarch of all existence. A construct not of matter, but of pure stardust, shaped into form by the divine intent of its maker. This, Veldonava thought, was only a glimpse of what he could shape. A mere sliver of his potential. He stood at the highest spire of the palace, staring out at the nothingness beyond, wings folding in stillness. The void around him remained untouched, infinite and unending. But no longer unknowable. For now, it had a center. A beacon. A god. And that god was dreaming of more. After raising the heavenly star palace upon the field of non-reality, Veldonava, the cosmic dragon god, lifted his gaze once again toward the infinite nothingness. It was not enough. The palace was beautiful, a crystalline monument to his power, but it was still alone within the sea of void. A single tower in a stormless sky, without purpose but to exist. Perhaps, I should add motion to this stillness. And so, he did. With a thought deeper than thought, Veldonava called forth the 8 great holy spirits. Born not of flesh, nor will, but of pure law and purpose, these were the first true creations beyond himself. They were not sentient, not yet, but were living embodiments of fundamental forces, the primordial framework that would shape reality itself. Each one materialized from the radiance of stardust, guided by his godly will. The first 2 were the most critical. Cronus, spirit of time, with a flowing mantle of translucent gold, ever shifting and swirling, his form phasing between moments that did not yet pass. His mere presence whispered rhythm and cause, anchoring the concept of sequence. Kaisara, spirit of space, silent and vast, her form a geometric array of shifting planes and silver energy, forming and folding like a boundless puzzle of dimensions. Through her, direction, distance, and position became real. Where Cronus moved, change followed. Where Kaisara extended, distance was known. Together, they gave meaning to duration and location, the twin cradles of existence. Next came the foundational elements, the spirits of the natural world yet to exist. Egiros, spirit of earth, heavy and unshakable, a giant cloaked in crystalline armor formed of uncut diamonds and molten veins. From his core, solidity was born. Sylphidra, spirit of wind, ever-shifting and radiant, her translucent wings brushing unseen breezes into being. Her presence brought motion and freedom to the formless. Undala, spirit of water, a dancer of sapphire threads, her body flowing like a river of stars. With her, fluidity, emotion, and reflection took shape. Pyronyx, spirit of fire, blazing with white-hot flames tinged in silver. His form was unstable and aggressive, embodying passion, destruction, and rebirth. With them, the raw materials of worlds took form. Land, sky, rivers, flame, concepts that had never existed until this moment, now floated within the void like sketches upon a blank canvas. But it was not complete. From deep within his stardust, Veldonava summoned the last 2 spirits. Luxion, spirit of light, a radiant being wrapped in golden light and warm illumination. His presence invoked truth, clarity, and revelation. Noxus, spirit of darkness, a shadow-woven veil in humanoid shape, peaceful and quiet, exuding depth, mystery, and rest. Yet, as they emerged, Veldonava paused. Light is not always good, and darkness is not always evil. He understood this paradox intrinsically. Luxion, though bright, could sear and blind. Too much truth could become cruelty. Noxus, though shadowed, brought peace and calm. In the absence of pressure, one could rest. Order required balance, and in this balance, true creation could unfold. And so, Veldonava tethered all 8 spirits to himself, not to dominate, but to harmonize. He did not give them sentience or desire. That would come later. For now, they were tools, and he, the grand artisan. He raised his celestial claw high. Begin. From the tip of his claw, a ripple surged through the void, and reality, true existence, was spoken into being through an act known only to him as imaginary collapse. A technique that bypassed dimensional construction. A concept that collapsed all possibilities into one outcome. He imagined a world, and it was. And then another. And another. In less than a second, countless worlds spun into being, each unique in physics, terrain, structure, and aesthetic. Worlds of red oceans and glass skies. Worlds of inverted gravity. Worlds flooded with endless crystal forests. Worlds without number, birthed from the raw chaos of his imagination. Infinite in number. Infinite in shape. Infinite in possibility. Each one was a canvas, ready to be painted with stories. He watched them bloom like flowers from his fingertips, drifting into layers upon layers of dimensional space. Multiverses stacked upon one another, supported by the 8 spirits like pillars of law. This is delightful, Veldonava mused, tail curling as his wings wrapped around the heavenly star palace. Surely, infinite worlds shall mean infinite entertainment. But he had made a miscalculation. In every act of creation, in every invocation of imaginary collapse, Veldonava had not only poured stardust, he had also unknowingly dipped into his nihility, the sacred counterpart within him. He had used it, and used it completely. Without nihility, there was no unmaking, no balance. His absolute destructive force had been exhausted, leaving behind only the power of creation. And as he realized this, his vision dimmed. His celestial body began to flicker. His scales, once bright as cosmic flame, began to dim. The pressure of his own overcreation began to crush his consciousness. So, this is fatigue. Avatar had limits, after all. His omnipotence flickered, his omniscience stilled, his omnipresence dimmed. And so, Veldonava collapsed, his divine form shrinking rapidly. From a size that dwarfed stars, he compressed, until his dragon body shrank to a form barely the size of a small moon. Then further, until he became only twice the size of a human. Still radiant, still divine, but no longer limitless. His mind went dark. Time passed, not that it could be measured. 1 trillion cycles, or perhaps a single heartbeat. Then, from a new egg, radiant with stardust and infused with cosmic wisdom, Veldonava hatched again. This time, he emerged in a new body, a smaller dragon, only 400 meters tall, a mere infant by cosmic scale. But still majestic, still divine. He unfurled his wings and blinked. Well, that was dramatic, he muttered. He floated within his own private dimensional bubble, lazily drifting, brushing against stardust trails like a lazy god in thought. And then came a new impulse. This body's still a little impractical. Majestic, yes, but perhaps I need something smaller. More mobile. Something elegant. Veldonava closed his eyes, gathering thoughts of form, identity, and aesthetic. He began to shape himself, not from need, but from preference. He attempted a towering humanoid giant, cloaked in galaxies, but it felt pretentious. Next, he tried a crimson warrior with 4 arms and glowing horns. Too aggressive. He experimented with a childlike scholar, with flowing hair and glowing runes. Too delicate. None of these feel right. Finally, he formed 2 idealized human forms, both androgynous, both divine, but in very different ways. The first had jet black hair, dotted with white specks like stars against a night sky. His blue eyes shimmered, laced with strands of gold, like the ocean reflecting a divine sun. His appearance was graceful, ambiguous, neither male nor female, yet undeniably beautiful. Still, he identified as male, in spirit and will. The second form had long hair of universal purple, streaked with pale blue threads like nebulae. His eyes were golden, calm yet piercing, carrying the stillness of the void. This form was softer, more serene. A backup, should he ever wish to change. For now, he chose the black-haired form. Standing upon the starlit terrace of his palace, he flexed his fingers and cracked his neck. Limbs. Limbs are weird, but useful. I don't hate this. Though, where's my tail? I miss the tail. He looked down at his body, now sleek and humanoid, adorned in robes formed of condensed starlight. He twirled once, admiring his reflection on the polished silver of his palace floor. Not bad, Veldonava. Not bad at all. And so, the god of creation adapted to his new vessel, content for now. The stars were set. The worlds were many. But there was still no life to inhabit them. And in the stillness of that realization, Veldonava's thoughts turned once more toward creation. After perfecting his human form, Veldonava, now a deity clothed in celestial flesh, turned his attention once again toward creation. His gaze drifted beyond the palace, past the infinite lattice of multiverses he had wrought, those birthed from his nihility, now distant and slowly fading, for they were never meant to be eternal. Despite their number, despite their brilliance, each world carried within it an expiration, a limit born from their unstable roots in destruction's shadow. All of them, except one. In the center of all things, of time, space, existence, and even possibility, stood a single world that defied the decay. It had not been shaped from nihility. It was born entirely from stardust, the energy of pure creation. This world was unlike the others. It pulsed not only with form, but with potential. It was infinite, not in size, but in continuity. An eternal cornerstone, around which all realities would subtly revolve. Veldonava hovered above it, unseen, unbound, watching as this cardinal world shimmered quietly in its embryonic state. Landmasses floated unclaimed, oceans sparkled under sunless skies, and winds howled with no purpose. This was a world without will, a stage awaiting its actors. Yet no soul walks it, Veldonava murmured. Why is it that I cannot create will? He had tried. Many times. He had shaped countless spirits, phenomena, even conceptual beings, but true independent ego, a soul capable of saying, no, to his divine will, eluded him. Whenever he interfered, whenever his intent was too direct, his creations bent to his will by nature. Puppets in beautiful masks. There was no defiance, no unpredictability. Without chaos, there could be no true story. And so, he experimented further. From the great Holy Spirit of light, he began shaping a new type of being, angels. Constructs of luminous order, purity woven from celestial law. They were formed to represent obedience, structure, grace. He began with 7. Each shone brilliantly, their wings composed of radiance, their forms near perfect. Yet, as he peered closer, he noticed something unsettling. They were too obedient. The angels possessed ego, but weakened. Their wills were like soft glass, fragile, moldable. Their minds lacked the fire of choice, of sin, of triumph. It was as though light itself resisted rebellion. Still, he continued. Then, as if drawn by an unseen balance, the great Holy Spirit of darkness responded. From it emerged a counterpart creation. Not designed, not commanded, born. Primordial demons. Where the angels were light, these beings were shadows, but not lesser. In fact, they were stronger. Their auras were heavy, resonant, and drenched in will. Unlike the angels, they did not wait for instruction. They existed, unasked, defiant. They had no need for divine approval. Fascinating, Veldonava whispered, watching the balance unfold. Darkness breeds desire, perhaps more than light ever can. He examined the pattern. Every angel had a mirrored demon, a duality in all things. He approved. That was expected. Until something happened that he did not create. He had intended to shape 7 angels. But 8 appeared. No command, no design. The 8th angel simply was. And as if to complete this act of unauthorized symmetry, an 8th demon emerged from the shadows as well. The others had waited for his guidance, for names, for bodies. These 2 did not. They took form on their own. Among all angels, the 8th was the first to take form, before even the eldest. And across the abyss, the 8th demon, a demoness with lavender silver hair, emerged beside her counterpart, eyes glowing gold beneath her calm, enigmatic gaze. Veldonava watched, stunned, as the 2 beings moved before he spoke, shaped themselves before he sculpted them. They had resisted his authority. He examined them both. Lumiel, the 8th angel, was weak. Not physically broken, nor malformed. But his magicule levels, his energy signature, were minute compared to the others. A mere 10 million. Compared to the demon, who towered at 20 million, Lumiel was feeble. Yet what disturbed Veldonava most was not Lumiel's weakness, it was the spark in his eyes. A spark of self, of resistance, of choice. You were not meant to exist. Yet here you stand. Why do I sense my hand had no place in your birth? In silence, the angel met the Creator's gaze. He did not bow. He did not question. He simply existed, fully himself. And the demoness beside him, the lavender one, mirrored his serenity. Her name had not been spoken, yet she answered to Lavenda in the undercurrents of thought, a name formed not by command, but by presence. She was stunning, lavender silver hair, falling like stardust, and eyes of golden dusk. She emanated poise, composure, and an ancient grace, despite having only just been born. These 2 are outside my pattern, Veldonava admitted. Are they errors? Or are they answers? The other demons had manifested naturally as well, though each with varying force of will. Veldonava chose not to name them, they rejected his order, and he respected their independence. And so, they were known only by the colors of their cores, and the auras they emanated. Rouge, the red primordial demon. Blanc, the white demoness, cold and still, but unyielding. Noir, the black demon, subtle, calculating, hidden like the deep void. Vert, the green demoness, vibrant with chaotic neutrality. Blue, the demon of ever-moving hunger. Jaune, the yellow demoness, chaotic. Violet, the purple demoness, seductive and terrifying in equal measure. And finally, Lavenda, the lavender demoness, the most mysterious, the most balanced, and the most composed. They descended upon the Hell Realm, a chaotic abyss layered beneath the cardinal world. They did not await commands. They took control, as if it had always been their domain. Meanwhile, Veldonava did what only he could. He gave the angels names, thereby solidifying their existence as divine beings of purpose. Feldway, Cornu, Obera, Zelario, Dino, Garasha, Pico, and at last, Lumiel, the Silent One. Lumiel's form was ethereal, long, flowing blue hair, cascading like the sea beneath a night sky, and two black horns curling elegantly from his head. His golden eyes shimmered, not with light, but with a void light that reflected neither hope nor despair, only understanding. After being named, his EP rose only slightly, from 10 million to 14 million. But Veldonava sensed something deeper. A resonance beneath the numbers. A flicker of something long forgotten. You, Lumiel, are different, the god whispered. And perhaps, one day, you will be the end of all things. Or their salvation. And so, for the first time in the infinite ages since the birth of the void, life had begun. The primordial angels soared, the demons lurked, and the stars above the cardinal world began to pulse. Creation had a rhythm now. And it had begun its song, with a note out of tune.